Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
All right, so what we're talking about is a post-Age of Reason non-Catholic, whether or not we know for certain that that person is outside the church and obviously can't get to heaven.
Well, first of all, let me stop you right there. A non-Catholic is always outside the church.
Okay. So my statement wasn't wrong then.
If you're asking me if a person above the age of reason who's a non-Catholic is outside the church, of course.
Okay.
All non-Catholics are outside the church.
Right, we agree. Let me give you this example, because I know that we both agree that a baptized infant receives the faith.
Well, I accept that. I'm not convinced that you do, but
I do accept that. So we both believe you need belief in the incarnation of the Most Holy Trinity to be Catholic, and every living creature must be subject to the Roman Pontiff. So, if we have an infant that's baptized, they receive the Catholic faith. If they are raised to deny the incarnation and the Most Holy Trinity, and the person reaches the age of reason, whatever that is, let's say it's 14, is the person that's denying the incarnation and the Trinity Catholic?
of course not. As we discussed,
what have they done?
They, as we said, with those mysteries are unique because those mysteries are mysteries which you must positively know and believe without exception, okay? The other aspects of Catholic teaching are different. They're in a different category. They're mysteries which you cannot reject, but you don't have to have a positive knowledge of them to be in possession of the Catholic faith. So if someone's taught something that contradicts clearly with the Trinity of the Incarnation, that person cannot be in possession of the Catholic faith. So that person would lose that faith by virtue of accepting these things which contradict those essential mysteries. That's the whole point.
Okay.
It's a basic, simple answer, and that's the root of the whole problem of your failure to see this, that those two mysteries are in a unique category.
Okay, I understand your point. Let me make one real quick. We're saying that the baptized infant, we both believe, has the faith, but that they've done nothing to transition from pre-age of reason to post-age of reason.
Can you hold on the phone, Ray? Hold on.
Okay.
How I would like to speak to God. How I would enjoy walking with Him. The holy bishop smiled at this pathetic utterance, and in his winning manner replied, "Be of good cheer, my child. Paradise was lost to us by the first sin, it is true, but God was not lost to us. Everywhere He is near us. We may speak and communicate with Him at all times and wherever we are. This is done when we pray to Him. In prayer we associate with Him. In prayer we hold sweet communication with God and God with us, and this intercourse contains nothing but..."
Okay, what were you saying?
Okay, so basically what I'm saying is that I understand that you're saying that these are unique mysteries, and we both agree that the person is not obstinately denying it.
He's choosing to accept it, yeah.
Right, so he's choosing to not believe in the incarnation of the Trinity, although in this scenario, I mean, the person's never been presented with a Catholic.
Well, yeah, he has the Catholic faith.
Nobody's ever walked up to him and said, the Catholic Church teaches that you need to believe in this. So he's not obstinately denying it, he just doesn't...
Well, yeah, by virtue of the fact that he accepts these things, he's choosing to believe something contrary to the Trinity and the Incarnation.
Why, Peter, and I ask you very sincerely, even though you don't believe me, why is the papacy any different?
Because, I mean,
the Church has
I think you're smart enough to grasp this, but it must be a spiritual blockage. Those two mysteries have been infallibly defined that you have to know without exception. Okay, the other things don't. Can you tell me what's stated in Session 7, Canon 4 of the Council of Trent?
No.
Okay, so is that something you have to positively know? No, it isn't.
I'm saying.
But if I read it to you and you said I don't believe that, would you be a heretic?
Yeah.
Okay, so you see the difference. That's a dogma of the faith. It's a dogma.
Yeah, but we're not talking about heresy. That's the thing that I feel like you keep on going back to, is we're talking about a person...
Okay, well, you don't understand schism. Schism is something where you willfully and obstinately separate from the hierarchy. That's what I proved to you by quoting Pope Clement VI.
What is this? Is this person a heretic, or are they in schism? The person I've
described. What
person?
person?
The person I've described to you that...
He's a heretic.
But what has he done?
He has embraced a faith which rejects the Catholic faith. And
it wasn't obstinate, so he doesn't meet.
It doesn't matter, because in those matters he doesn't have to be obstinate. It's just like the pagan on the island, okay? The pagan on the island, he cannot be saved, even though he may not have ever been presented with the gospel of Christ, the Catholic faith. Okay, the reason he's left in ignorance is because God sees everything and he knows that this guy was not of the truth. So if someone is
Peter, I
taught,
absolutely agree with you.
if someone is taught, yes, and I'm trying to illustrate it to teach you something about these mysteries, that if someone is taught that, they're raised in a family, they're baptized, and then they're taught that Jesus Christ is not God, he's less than God, they're taught by the Arians, okay?
Yeah. Okay.
That God sees that person as not of goodwill, and so if he is, he'll be taught the truth. If God allows him to be taught that, he wasn't. Now, we can make that statement with certainty. The reason we can is because it's been dogmatically defined. That let me finish.
Oh, no, you just talked for a while. I need to interject.
Well, you're just
my point.
Go ahead.
You told me that it was dogmatically defined that in order to be a heretic, you had to be obstinate, and now you said that
I said
this person doesn't have
it's
to be
dogmatically defined on all other matters outside the Trinity of the Incarnation. Okay, that's the teaching of the Church. There are only two mysteries, if you study the matter, that are absolutely necessary by necessity of means. Okay? The papacy, knowing the identity of the Pope, is not one of them. Okay, when St. Isaac Jogues baptized the guy on the gridiron, the guy who was being turned over the fire, okay, he's a cannibal, basically a cannibal being converted. Did he have to explain to him who the Pope was?
Well,
that's my question for you. I answered your question in detail. Answer mine.
Well, hold on.
No, answer my question.
Well, Peter, I'm not God.
No, you're telling me you know what the Catholic Church teaches, and you don't.
Well, no, you won't let me answer, and you never do.
No, I'm asking you.
The trick that you
answer the question.
Recorded line, and you won't let them talk.
You just asked me a detailed question, and I answered it in detail.
Okay, well, will you give me a chance to respond? As soon as I say two words, you accuse me of not answering your question.
Aaron, you asked me a question. I answered. I'm allowed to ask you a question. Isn't that fair?
You only answered because I didn't interrupt you, Peter.
What's that?
You were only able to answer because I wouldn't interrupt you. I allowed you to answer.
Right, and I'm asking you, will you... Okay, go ahead, answer my question.
Okay, ask your question again.
When St. Isaac Jogues was captured by the heathen in North America, and there were prisoners about to be executed, one of them was burning. Okay, he was put, and they were basically like roasting him, and he was able to preach to him the basics. All right, he actually was able to baptize him with like water from certain corn that was left over, little like drops.
Okay.
Did he have to explain to him more than the Trinity of the Incarnation? Did he have to tell him who the Pope was? Explain what the papacy is?
Well, I don't think that it would be necessary for him to explain it, but he would have to be subject to the Roman Pontiff.
And how would he do that?
Whatever that means to our good Lord is what it means.
Well, no. I'm asking you specifically what it means, because you're telling me that it's not enough to not know the Roman Pontiff. Is it enough for that guy to know the Trinity of the Incarnation and be baptized?
If he's not subject to the Roman Pontiff, he can't get to heaven.
Aaron, how is he made subject to the Roman Pontiff?
Well, he's made subject through baptism.
Exactly.
Because he receives the
You just made my point.
Faith. But at post age of reason, Peter.
He is post age of reason. We're talking about an adult here.
Right. So
you just proved my whole point, Aaron. You just made my point and proved yourself wrong. Anyone that can think knows that. You just said he doesn't have to know the Roman Pontiff. Therefore, it's not a necessity of means by positive knowledge, the same way the Trinity of the Incarnation is. Wake up. Think about what you're saying. You've contradicted yourself. You admitted, you proved my whole point. Okay? Do you see that?
I think it's interesting. I'm thinking about it.
You think it's interesting, and see, that's why what I'm saying to you is, it's just, if you continue to assert this, it's just dishonesty. Okay? You're wrong.
Okay.
That's what I'm telling you. You got to wake up.
Okay.
And so it's something where, and see, like, that's why calling this guy, it's not a good idea. It's something where he's a wicked, I'm serious, he's evil. He's an evil person. And so it's something where he's just going to be convinced he doesn't have a clue what he's talking about. Not a clue.
I guess the one thing that bothers me a little bit about the scenario is I feel like this is something that even people that, are Novus Ordo or whatever, whenever I'm talking to them, they'll always ask me to explain about this scenario or this saint or whatever, and I always just tell them, I'm like, look, I don't have to have all the answers about every saint. All that I need to know and believe is what the church tells me to know and believe. And so I guess my immediate feeling would be that, the guy would have to be subject to the Roman Pontiff, whatever that means. But if a post-Age of Reason person is not subject to the Roman Pontiff, then I would believe that he's outside the church. So you're saying to me that this guy who's burning is saying, that Pope is such a horrible person, and somebody converts him and says, do you believe in the Incarnation and the Trinity? And he says, yes, and he dies.
Well, no, if he holds that Pope is such a horrible person, then obviously he knows who the Pope is. Therefore, he would not be of good faith. He would not be a Catholic. So we're talking about someone who's completely ignorant of the gospel.
Okay.
A cannibal. Okay, just this illustrates the point. This is just an example which proves the point. And see, actually, it's our precision in defending these matters which actually enables us to consistently defend the dogma. That's what, a lot of people don't understand, that unless you understand this point, you would not be able to defend the dogma against the invincible ignorance heretics, because they could point out these inconsistencies. They could say, well, you say that every person has to know the Roman Pontiff, okay, that's what it means, positively. Well, we know that that's not always been the case. There are many examples you can give. The saints who are following anti-popes, were they Catholic? So they would say, it doesn't actually mean that you have to know the Roman Pontiff. It shows you that you have to understand that. You see what I'm saying? And so what we respond correctly, okay, is that no, you literally have to adhere to the dogma exactly as it's declared, but what it declares is not what you think it declares. It does not mean that you must positively know the Roman Pontiff in every case. It means that you must absolutely be baptized and that you cannot reject the Roman Pontiff or the hierarchy. And so, a lot of people think that, this fidelity to these finer points is critical in defending the dogma. And see, here's the thing, that we really believe the dogmas are infallible. I know yesterday in the conversation you said that, hold on. I know yesterday you said that, you have to sort of use common sense and logic. Remember that? Well, no, with dogma we're dealing with infallible truth.
Peter, I thought you said that.
Well, no, what I was saying is that it says every human creature must be subject to the Roman Pontiff, and you're saying, well, you sort of have to, use common sense to say that, well, that doesn't necessarily apply just to infants. No, you have to adhere to exactly what the Church has declared. Okay, and so that definition is to be understood the way it has been declared. Okay, you can't say, well, that really means this if it doesn't say that.
I don't really remember having this discussion with you in this way. And I'll be interested if I'm able to hear that conversation again. I'll be interested to see
well, you can see
when I said that. But obviously we both agree every person has to be subject to the Roman Pontiff.
Right,
and
but you've
what we're trying to do is to not be dogma deniers, and we're trying to say,
I'm not a dogma denier.
I said that's what we're both trying to do, and so what we're trying to hash out is a post-Age of Reason person.
And I've explained to you very simply
who doesn't acknowledge the Pope Catholic, and you believe that for a period he may be.
Of course, that's a fact. That's a fact, and I've proven that. And you just admitted that. You just admitted the guy that St. Isaac Jogues baptized, who was about to be burned, didn't have to know the identity of the Pope.
So would a Novus Ordo child who reaches the age of reason, who acknowledges Benedict as the Pope, would they be Catholic for a short period?
I believe they would, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And so it's something where now if they're not taught about confession, if they're not taught about praying the rosary, if they're not taught that they can't listen to their pagan music, if they're not taught that they must avoid the pagan culture, then they're going to almost certainly fall into mortal sin in a short period of time. But they're still Catholic unless they reject something. And see, that's what the Church teaches. Okay, and see, here, one of the things that goes on with this kind of theology, like R.I. and these other guys, is that this whole Pharisaical schism in which they're wrapped up it's an elitism. That basically they want to have the, quote, comfort of thinking that everyone outside of their little body is in the dust column. And so basically they have to convince themselves that there's, like, that's where they come up with, if you're attending non-Catholic church, you're all lost. And so, like, it gives them the, quote, comfort that, their little body is the only one. It's not a universal church.
I disagree with you, but I want to get back to the point because I know your time is short, and that's really what I wanted to make sure I was able to discuss with you today.
Well, but, okay.
So why does the church use the word subject to? Because subject to me, implies, for instance, my wife cannot be subject to a husband that she doesn't know, right? I mean, you would think that the church would say, you must be united to somehow, some sort of language that shows...
Well, actually, if you read my book on Outside the Church, There's Absolutely No Salvation, in the very section on this dogma, there is a quote from Pope Leo XIII in Nobilissima, his encyclical, where he says, children are placed under the authority of the church by baptism. Okay, further confirming that when the child is baptized, he becomes a subject of the church, and who holds the supreme authority in the church? The Pope. And so, because that subjection implies a number of things. It implies being under the church's authority, and it also means, okay, that you cannot reject the church. We know that from other pronouncements.
This is where you contradict yourself. Because, well, hold on. You say that we both believe that they have the fullness of faith, and you must believe in the Incarnation and the Most Holy Trinity, and certainly the infant does not believe in it, and certainly the infant is not necessarily knowledgeable of the Pope. So, in both these cases, we agree that they have the faith, but that they certainly don't believe in the Incarnation. Would you assert that an infant believes in the Incarnation? In the Most Holy
No, but see, here's the thing. Here's where your lack of familiarity with our material and this issue betrays you. That I point out in my book that the way we know the dogmatic teaching, which gives us the backing to be able to say that the Trinity in the Incarnation is absolutely necessary, is the Athanasian Creed. And the wording of the Athanasian Creed is that whoever wills to be saved needs above all to hold the Catholic faith. Notice that. Notice the precision of infallible definitions. Whoever wills to be saved, meaning you can't will to be saved unless you're above reason. Okay, so the Athanasian Creed is talking about those who are above reason. They must know the Trinity and the Incarnation. That's the dogmatic teaching of the Church.
Well, I don't think that discounts that you would also need to be subject to the Roman Pontiff.
Yeah, as we've covered over and over again, and you're not getting that's initially through baptism.
No, what I'm saying is that I understand that, but there's the baptism, the faith is a gift at baptism. It's given to you. It's received. And when you reach the age of reason, what I'm saying is that there's accountability where to simply not believe in the Incarnation and the Most Holy Trinity puts you outside the Church, and to simply not be subject to the Roman Pontiff also does the same. You can't just say that the baptism kind of fades away.
You just admitted that the guy baptized by Isaac Jogues didn't have to know the Roman Pontiff.
Well, again, I don't know.
So you're contradicting yourself. Okay, that's just a fact, Aaron. You admitted.
Well, if the man's not subject to the Roman Pontiff,
he is subject to the Roman Pontiff.
What I'm saying is that if he's not subject, he can't get to heaven.
Well, I agree. But what does that mean? That means the way he's a subject is by submitting himself to baptism. He becomes a subject of the Church, and the Roman Pontiff holds the authority in the Church.
So if you're there converting the guy, and you're squeezing the corn or doing whatever to get whatever water you can to perform a baptism, are you telling him you must believe in the Incarnation of the Most Holy Trinity, or are you just performing the baptism?
No, you have to tell him those mysteries. That's why Holy Office decrees.
I would think that you would also have to say Pope Benedict is an anti-pope.
Well, obviously, if you had all kinds of time, you would. But it's something where that's not necessary. See, that's where you're... See, this is the whole point. Like, let me speak. You've been going on and on.
Okay.
All right. This is one of the schismatic positions of R.I., that he actually preaches a new gospel. believe it or not. I actually proved that in my first article about him. Because he elevates knowing that these guys are anti-popes to a mystery of faith which must be known and believed in order to be numbered among the elect. He basically puts it on the same level of knowing Christ. And that's completely false. It's something you can't reject once the relevant facts are given to you. Okay? But it's not something you have to know to accept the Catholic faith or to accept the gospel and be part of the church. Okay? It's something where it's not one of those mysteries. He doesn't have to know Benedict XVI's an anti-pope. He couldn't reject it once he becomes familiar with these issues, but he doesn't have to know that. And that's, just flatly false.
I disagree with you. I think that the church is saying that to be subject to means that you have to make the choice.
That is heresy. Divine revelation. Did he have to know Benedict XVI was an anti-pope in 255?
I don't know the scenario that you're speaking of.
In the year 255, did Benedict XVI live?
I'm not familiar with the scenario that you're asking me to answer.
Okay. Benedict XVI, you say he has to know in order to be saved that Benedict XVI is an anti-pope? That's what you said 2 minutes ago, right?
I'm saying that a person living today that dies believing that Benedict is the Pope cannot go to heaven.
Okay, so you're saying that knowing he's not an anti-pope, knowing he is an anti-pope, is something that's basically essential for every person to be saved today.
I wouldn't word it that way, the way that I would.
Well, that's what you're saying.
Well, no, it's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that you must be subject to the Pope, to the true Pope, obviously.
There is no Pope.
Right, and so to acknowledge Benedict as the Pope is to not be subject to the Roman Pontiff.
Okay, then in any age in church history in which they didn't acknowledge the correct Pope, then they couldn't be saved. You know how ridiculous that is?
That's not what we're saying at all. Obviously what we're saying is that
it is what
you
you're
must
saying.
be subject to the office of the papacy.
Right, and I've already proven to you what that means.
Vatican II.
Well, Aaron, listen, I've already proven to you that you've completely contradicted yourself. You admitted that the guy that Isaac Jogues baptized does not have to know the identity of the Pope.
I now reverse my position.
Oh, okay. So you're really comfortable and familiar with your position. You're changing it in midstream.
Well, Peter, this
and you're telling me that my position is heretical.
I take the time to call you is because I want to have the debate. You seem to demand that when people call you that they have it all figured out and that they know the questions that you're going to ask. I wouldn't waste my time calling.
As I pointed out to you yesterday, that you're not a person who has called us and asked us our opinion, basically, to learn the truth. You're a person who's already concluded that our position was heretical. Is that not correct?
Right.
Okay, so that's why you are being denounced in this conversation, because you think you know... Let me finish. You think you know the Catholic teaching. You don't. You contradict yourself in the very course of trying to explain your position. At the same time, you're accusing me of heresy. All this is mortally sinful garbage.
Okay, you have totally abandoned your argument from yesterday.
No, I haven't.
You said that you must obstinately reject, and now you're saying that that's not always true.
No, I said you can... Okay, we have it. I said that outside of matters of the Trinity and the Incarnation...
I don't think so.
Yes, of course. We make that clear. I've written lots on this issue. Of course, I always make that clear. We don't believe that you can be saved if you don't believe in the Trinity and the Incarnation.
All that I'm saying, and I don't think that you can accuse me of rejecting a church teaching when I say there are three things that are required. You must believe in the Incarnation, the Most Holy Trinity, and you must be subject to the Roman Pontiff in order to get to heaven. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
We've been over this ground I don't know how many times.
Okay, and I'm saying that you deny the dogma by saying that a post-Age of Reason person that either acknowledges an anti-pope or does not acknowledge the office of the papacy can somehow still be Catholic.
And I've proven to you that you are completely wrong, because I've proven to you that
you can't walk around the dogma.
No, you actually don't have a clue what you're talking about, because that dogma says that every human creature must be subject to the Roman Pontiff. So if what you're saying is true, as I pointed out to you yesterday, if that means that you must know the Roman Pontiff, that every human creature must know the Roman Pontiff, infants can't be saved, which you don't believe, and you just admitted that the guy that Isaac Jogues baptized...
That's why we gave the example.
Right, and see, it's obvious right now that you're just a liar.
Okay.
That's all you are. And actually, we probably will post this just to show how much of a liar you are.
What I'm saying is that we've already covered this, and what I'm saying is that there's a difference. Obviously, there's a difference of accountability for an infant with the Incarnation and the Most Holy Trinity. We agree. They've been given the faith. But post-Age of Reason, if they don't believe in it, they're now accountable and they're outside the church. The same is true for the papacy.
So St. Vincent Ferrer was outside the church, right? He was a schismatic?
When?
When he acknowledged anti-popes.
Yes.
Okay, so you would
Don't
agree.
deny the dogma, Peter.
So you would agree that the church canonized a non-Catholic?
No, that's not true.
No, he didn't. He didn't abjure.
When he died, what pope was he acknowledging?
Martin. I believe it was Martin V. I'd have to check.
It's not an anti-pope, right? He was a true pope.
Right, but there's no evidence he abjured.
Look, I don't need evidence, and like I said in the conversation...
Okay. Well, any knowledgeable Catholic
I don't believe that
will see that when you say that St. Vincent Ferrer was a schismatic, that you are not a Catholic. Okay? Anybody who's outside of the little warped schismatic clique that you're presently in will see that is utterly, completely stupid. Okay?
Okay, you say it's stupid to follow the dogmas, so...
You don't follow the dogmas. You don't even know what the dogmas say. What's that?
I mean...
You are completely wrong. I've already proven that many times.
Okay,
I've proven that you contradicted yourself on the position.
It's stupid for me to say.
That your nonsensical heresies that St. Vincent Ferrer was a schismatic. Hey, I could give you many other examples. Okay, there were times when the people in Rome, okay, all thought that Felix actually was the Pope, but there was actually the true Pope was still living. They thought the wrong guy was the Pope. Were they all non-Catholics? According to you, yeah.
Yes. Peter,
so the whole Roman city was non-Catholic.
Hey, don't deny the dogma.
That is not the dogma. It's your perverse, false understanding of it.
It's that simple, Peter.
No, it's
you
not.
You want to come up with these hard examples and say, well,
yeah, right, because you're just a heretic.
I won't deny the dogma, Peter.
You do. You do, actually.
Give me all the examples you want.
Yeah, because you don't understand what you're talking about, and you've contradicted yourself numerous times, and you are just a wicked heretic headed for hell.
I hope you post this. I really do.
Yeah, and we will if we deem it something we want to get into. But anyone who would listen to it who has any honesty will see that you don't have a clue what you're talking about.
Okay.